Sunday. How's everyone doing? Mars, I know we were talking a little bit about backstage. We have been preparing, you have been preparing to be violent all week.
Very violent. Oh my God.
Sunday's
we have
here.
so much violence prepared for you, and that's where I spent all morning crying because your girl was reading some comics, and those comics made me cry. Because what else is comics if they don't break your heart, which it always happens. But I'm done with crying. I'm ready to get violent. Yeah. I think it's time for another episode of Casually Comic.
So we've got a lot of news. We've got not too many comic books. I know that my comic books were a little bit like, I got some on Wednesday, got some later in the week. So it feels like 2 different weeks, but it feels like 2 light weeks make one. I don't know. I feel like I didn't have a lot of comic books this week, but I want to say hi before we get started. I want to say hello to some people in the chat. Hello to John's Comics with Kids, and then our friend Travis. I haven't seen you in a couple weeks, so I'm really glad to see you here. Thank you so much, friend.
And Travis is a member. Thank you so much for being a member of the Casually Comics crew.
Love it. Barbie, thank you so much for being here, friend. And our friend, hello to Sheena, good morning. And then our friend Smiley Tori, thank you so much for being here. Let's see, Sean, Puff Comics, hello, good morning, everyone. We've got That Comic Girl, howdy. John Stout, hello, good morning, hi all. Number 1 drama queen, howdy y'all. Remy Q Studios, hey. And then we got a super chat from Creating Comics While Black. Thank you so much. Happy Sunday. Happy stream. Hello, Niall.
Let's see if you're still saying happy stream when we get really, really violent today.
This is going to be a trigger warning, violence warning. We've got a lot of thoughts and opinions, but y'all should be used to that by now. We've got a lot of opinions this week, which I am excited to talk about. Hello to Super Stick Boy. Good morning. 10 days until new saga. Very excited about this. I messaged Mars because
I don't even want to think about it. Like, I am so unprepared. Like, so fun fact, y'all, I don't even own all of the saga books. I should. Okay, hear me out. Hashtag hear me out. I owned volumes 1 through 5, or maybe it was 6. I lent 4 through 5 or 4 through 6 to a friend, never got them back. So now I just own the big library, big blue edition. That's the first 3 volumes. And the last time I reread Saga, I did it through the library. So I'm like, I remember most of it. I remember being traumatized. I'll be okay.
Yeah. I know I messaged you yesterday because I'm like, I'm not feeling good. I'm staying home. I'm going to read all of Saga. I didn't read all of Saga because I read other books, but I'm thinking about tackling the 9 volumes today. We'll see if I make it.
I'm in desperate need of a reread. I will say that.
Hello, officially unofficial geek. Happy Sunday, all. Let's see here. Famous Monsterful. Hello, y'all had me for 30 minutes. Lunch break. Okay, we'll make it quick. I'm just kidding.
We're gonna talk about Yara Flor for 30 minutes, and that's it.
For real. Noggin Comics, thank you so much for being here. Our friend Stapled Spine, Horazine here. Wednesday Spoiler Station, hello. Kaiser Jose, sup fam, sup ladies. Aggressively Relaxing, hello, thank you. Vengeance for Yara Flor, that will definitely be the theme. That'll be the theme of the day. Mars, your Spider-Man video is amazing and spectacular.
He's referencing my stupid little Instagram story because there's a little filter now where it's you being saved by Spider-Man. And I was like, you know what? Let me be funny this morning. So if you want to see me being dumb, go to my Instagram page and check out my story. Apparently John's my biggest comedic fan. So I appreciate that so much, John. Thanks.
100%. Let's go ahead and do this. Since I think I got everyone saying hello in the chat and good morning, as usual, let's go ahead and start off with some news. And I know that the news that you were least excited about, most anticipated, was this little lady called Yara Flor. What's up with her?
I don't want to talk about it. If I don't talk about it, then maybe it won't happen. So DC Comics announced abruptly that Yara Flor would be canceled. We aren't even getting issue 8, which was already previously solicited, and instead Yara Flor Wonder Girl will be ending with issue 7, with some of her story picking up in Trial of the Amazons. And oh my god, I am so fucking angry for a number of goddamn reasons. Listen, hear me out. Yeah. I feel like I bought this on, and if I bought this on, I am sorry, because the last time we talked about Yara, I kind of went on like a mini rant of how disappointed I was with the series, how it felt like the Yara Flor that we were introduced to into the 2-issue Wonder Woman Future State event did not feel anything like the Wonder Girl series we were getting from Joelle Jones. We were getting really weird storylines. Everything felt really disconnected. We were also getting really weird release dates. So in the span of, I think it's been 7 months, we've only gotten 6 issues or 5 issues or whatever, and it felt like issues were constantly getting delayed.
It was like there was a delay in issues, like maybe between like issue like 2, 3, and 4 there was a delay, but then it was like between issue like 4 and 5 it felt like 2 weeks between the 2 issues.
It felt like there was 2 weeks between the 2, so you had this really unruly schedule that just didn't make sense. You had this messy storyline, and then rather than trying to stick it out and try to fix things, DC Comics decides, hey, we're going to cancel it. And I on one side, I understand, because there was a lot of disappointment expressed from fans that, you know, the same feelings I had, that this Yara Flor series did not live up to the expectations that we had. It felt like a completely different character. It was not the character we were introduced to and fell in love with. However, if something is failing, but obviously there's love for the character, it's not like if we were to cancel the series of like a D-list character, like say Hawk and Dove, and I'm saying that, and I love Hawk and Dove, but obviously there is so much excitement expressed for this character. Rather than canceling it abruptly, why not throw in a new creative team? Yeah. Why not have somebody else tackle the character? Because personally, I would love to see like Vita Ayala take on the character. I think that could be a really fun run if they were to take on the title. You know,
Stephanie Phillips too. I think has been doing a lot of fun stuff.
A really great Yara Flor, and instead we're just getting the axe. And listen, as the founding member, one of the co-founding members of the Yara Flor fan club, I am just depressed. I can't say it I'm depressed. I am angry. And listen, I just need to talk to somebody at DC Comics. I just want to talk.
DC Comics editorial, we know where you're listening. I know we kind of like said that the series was going in an unexpected place, but I think that the series should still be allowed to breathe. I think the character should still be given a chance to fail and given a chance to be a shitty series. I'm still going to be picking it up. Like, I assure you, like, even if it's not the greatest run, I still love Yara Flor as a character. And I think what makes me most angriest about this is that so many other characters get a chance to have shitty runs. Like, they get the opportunity to just have low sales, shitty runs, and even just have like less than stellar creative teams. And I know I was talking a little bit about this backstage. We're only less than 10 minutes into this, and this is the Tom King segment of the show. But basically where we have a writer, say like Tom King, who was in 2017, 2018, 2019, one of the most hated comic book writers. Everybody
I wouldn't even say hated. I would say it was a controversial run, because you had people like me, people like our friend Bearded Comic Bro Greg, that were champions for Tom King's Batman run. I mean, we thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. However, you and Dan over at Comic Shop News, I remember us meeting for the first time, and you guys absolutely hated it. And it was like one of the first experience I ever had where somebody didn't think maybe it was the best thing ever. You know, you had this very diverse but very vocal fan base on a Batman title, which, as we all know, is DC's bread and butter. But as you're saying, it continued to finish its course.
Here's the thing, is that I don't care about, like, Batman can have a shitty run, it can have a good run, and I'm like, okay, I'm very indifferent. So I'm very indifferent towards like Tom King writing Batman. I don't like reading Tom King in single issues. So that's my thing, is that like there could be a writer like Tom King, where hated comic book writer, people say that like destroyed Batman, whatever. I really don't give a shit. But I think that a lot of times creators like that are given the opportunity, they're given the breathing space to have shitty runs, where Yara Flor, this run isn't finding its pace right out the gate, so they're canceling it, where other characters, other creative teams get the chance to be shitty and to maybe succeed later on, where this one isn't even getting the chance to get that. So I will say, I like Tom King when I read a whole ass, maybe not Strange Adventures, but when I read like the whole collected, I really like Tom King, and I do what he's doing with Supergirl. But I don't know, maybe put Tom King on fucking Wonder Girl on Yara Flor, and we'll see. Maybe she'll get 100 issues and best-selling series.
I do like that term that you use, though, that breathing space, because it's something that we see a lot, and it's something that I had brought up a couple years ago on, there's a video on my channel about that, but we saw the same thing happen with Batwoman and with Kate Kane, where we saw Marguerite Bennett on the title, and unfortunately it was facing some low sales, and I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of that run. However, rather than letting somebody else take the title and kind of seeing what they could do with the character, it was the same circumstance where that book was preemptively ended, say issue 12, or maybe it was 18, something. Either way, it was canceled. I just wish that we were able to allow more characters have voices. I want to see more Batman, or more than just Batman books. It just makes me upset, because I said in our last video when we were discussing our 2021 picks that it felt like DC had almost changed course and was finally doing what I wanted. Maybe not what I wanted, but what I had hoped for the publisher. We were getting some really stellar runs. We were getting some focus on some really great characters. I know it kind of felt like the Tom Taylor show for DC for most of the time, but
right now it's getting Tom King, Tom Taylor, Romvey. It feels like
we were getting
that is DC for 2021.
Future State, while it did kind of feel choppy, it gave us some really interesting characters and some potential there. And 14 days into 2022, it feels like we're completely reversing all of the work that we had done in 2021. So listen, I hope Yara Flor comes back. I love her. I personally wish that we had gotten some time to see her interact with other characters, because she has such a strong personality. She's definitely going to be a character that I think works better on a team or with somebody else than maybe just being by herself. And I feel like maybe that's where some of the struggle came out. So I don't know. I'm upsetty. I'm an upsetty spaghetti. That's all that matters.
I agree. And I think you're right. Like, I want to see Yara Flor with more characters, but I don't necessarily want to see another like Justice League International or anything like that. Like, I want to see Yara Flor maybe like team up and be like a team leader, because the moments that I liked most in this latest run were the moments between her and Jerry, her horse, which I thought was just so fun and authentic, and that was where Yara Flor's personality came through. And we didn't even get that until issue like 4 or 5.
Yeah, really. We didn't even get to see her become Wonder Girl up until the last issue or the last 2 issues.
Yeah.
And now we're really not going to see it. And I don't know. I'm depressed. I'm still going to pick up Trial of the Amazons, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. So hold your comic book children dear. Hold them close to you, friends, because you never know when they're going to be taken away.
True.
I like this too. A young adult graphic novel.
I think it would be really, really great.
Yep. What's some other? I know that one of the things that you had mentioned, I don't know if this is a segue, but thinking about the Batman ratio over at DC. Like, I know that Batman is like obviously the #1 selling character. Like, he's well known.
At this point, they need to just rename DC Comics to Batman Comics, because it feels like that's all it's going to be. It needs
Batman Comics.
It needs to just be BC. We saw this week, because surprise, spoiler alert, I have absolutely no DC Comics that I read this week, so I will not be talking about DC other than some of this new stuff. And a large
me neither, but that's because I didn't get any DC books, so that's not because I'm like
a large part of that is, though, is when you look at the releases for this week, we had 10 or 12 titles released for Batman. 10 or 12 titles released for DC Comics. And out of 10 or 12 of those, 9 or 11 or whatever were Batman or Batman
I Am
related.
Batman.
One title that wasn't.
Urban Legends.
Batgirls.
Batgirls, Robin and Batman. a Batman, Catwoman. I mean, granted, these are all the titles, not just the ones that came out this week, but like, man, there's a lot of Batman there. Like, I know I've said it before, like, I need to never see a Batman origin story again. Like, I never ever want to see the fucking Pearls scene again. Like, we know, we get it. Batman has a tragic origin because his parents die. I get it. Back alley, Pearls ripping, and we see that. I get it. I never ever ever want to see that again in a comic book ever. But
that's too bad.
I don't want to see Batman again for, like, give Batman a year off. Like, or DC, because I know you're watching, I know you're here, because I've talked about it before, I will write you the only Batman title that you need, and that's Batman Year 18, Barely Legal. That's all you need. That's the only Batman title that you need, and I'm here to write it for you, DC.
That's all you need.
Get rid of all the other ones.
But it's too bad that you don't want to see any more Batman or Batman Origins, because while DC solicitations haven't dropped, we're probably going to see that within the next week. They have already announced that we are getting a Flashpoint Beyond series, where we are basically bringing in Flashpoint Thomas Wayne, and, you know, we're going to see all of the Flashpoint stuff rebooted again, because, you know, killing it off twice isn't nearly enough. Yeah. And this angers me for a lot of reasons. I've personally never been a big fan of Flashpoint. Honestly, it's too edgy for my liking. I feel like once we got Flashpoint, a lot of the quality with DC Comics just went downhill. But the thing I think that makes me even more furious about this Flashpoint Beyond series is it is being written by Geoff Johns, who I could have swore we kicked out of DC Comics due to some very, very strange and horrifying allegations of, you know, sexual predatoring and being a racist and being mean to Ray Fisher and all of the above.
I knew that Geoff Johns, that I was aware of what the maybe allegations from Ray Fisher, but I think that on a wider stage, Ray Fisher never officially came out and said, this is what Geoff Johns said to me. Like, these were the words that he used. This was the behavior. But it sounds like there was a lot of abuse on set from Justice League, from like a whole bunch of people, like Joss Whedon and Geoff Johns. And so I don't know any other allegations other than some tweets that Ray Fisher made. So I know that maybe there's some other stuff, but I'm not. So I think that's why we haven't necessarily, like, put a stamp on, like, Geoff Johns is canceled. I just hate his fucking Doomsday Clock run, and he can fuck off into the sun for that.
There's that, too. It's just, it feels like he has been writing the same thing over and over again for the past 20 or so years. You know, I don't want to say I used to idolize Geoff Johns, but, you know, I did used to put him on this weird sort of pedestal and, you know, claim him as one of the best DC writers that could never do wrong. I mean, I personally love his Hawkman run, and he's the whole reason why I fell in love with those characters. But it's really just jarring that, you know, there's all these allegations, and we saw DC pull some of their books, and now a year or two later, it's like, never mind, you can come back now, and we're going to do it subtly, but at the same time, we're not going to do it subtly. And somebody made a good point with this Flashpoint Beyond series. And I know you're going to be in disagreement just because of how you feel about this person. But in the Batman Tom King run, we saw heavy involvement of Thomas Wayne coming into the mainline universe and kind of fucking with Batman. And I know you weren't a big fan of it. I personally loved it. So does that mean Geoff Johns is just going to undo everything that Tom King worked really hard to do and kind of recrafting this character? I sure as hell hope not. Well, I think I'm going to be a little depressed.
That's the whole point of, like, Flashpoint, right? Is that, like, shit gets undone. So I think that maybe that's been several years in the making, because they were like, oh shit, everybody hates Tom King. We got to undo what he did. I mean, once again, I'm kind of, is ambivalent the word that I'm looking for? I'm really just, I'll read it. I don't necessarily have a feeling one way or the other. Everyone say hello to Luna, because it's the Luna segment of the show. So anyways, I just think that if Geoff Johns, whatever comes out, I'm I'm probably not going to be like, ooh, I can't wait to read the new Jeff Johns book that comes out. But I mean, I may check it out. I'll see what other people think. And
this announcement does just come, it feels very awkward. And another thing that I was thinking about in terms of this, you know, sort of announcement was there was all this talk of Dan Didio and his whole 5G plans for DC Comics. You know, that's kind of what Future State was supposed to be, was this 5G where we're going to reset the universe.
Did that ever happen?
No. And that's what's strange, is there was all these plans, and we're starting to get, you know, now that Dan Didio is no longer a part of DC Comics, we're starting to get all of these like whispers, and like all of these like people are coming out and casually talking about the 5G stuff that never happened. And part of me wonders if this is part of 5G that we never saw. And maybe DC was like, this is too good for us to pass up. So maybe it has the foundations of that weird 5G, and we're going to piece it out. Because that's honestly what it feels like, especially when we look at DC Comics as a whole overall right now. This whole Flashpoint thing really does feel like it's coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. I think too, you know, there's a point made about
right there.
There's a point made about the new movie being based on Flashpoint, so I think that's why we may end up seeing some of that. But I also think you're right. I think that they were going to do this whole new 5G thing. I have no clue what that was going to be about. When I think 5G, I think crazy conspiracy theorists who are like, 5G is giving us cancer, and the reason why we have coronavirus is 5G, and, you know, tinfoil hat shit like that. But so I don't know what's going on with 5G. This could just be a remnant of that, but it just feels like DC is back on their bullshit, to be quite honest.
Correct. DC is back on their bullshit, but we do have some positive things to talk about in terms of DC. So there have been talks for a long while that, you know, we've had a Batgirl movie in the works, and we finally got to see the first image of our Batgirl in her costume, and it's Burnside Batgirl, y'all.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Burnside Batgirl to a T. I have some issues with the way that the costume looks.
It's not as purple. It's dark. It's too dark.
It's not as purple. I think maybe it's the photograph that they used. I don't know if it's the material that they use. There's something about it that feels off to me. And when I say that, I mean, I've seen cosplayers that have pulled off the look better. So it's not necessarily the design and what they're going with. It's maybe how it was executed. But overall, I'm really excited to see Burnside Batgirl.
Same.
Like, this, to me, Burnside Batgirl is the only Batgirl at this point. It feels like that's the only outfit, and it's the only outfit that from now on we should be using.
I agree, and I think that when that outfit first got announced in 2016, 2017, maybe my math, or maybe, I don't know, time is made up and it
doesn't matter.
But I think that there was some controversy whenever that Batgirl suit came out, because it was like she has autonomy over.
Simple.
It was too simple, but it's like, it makes sense. And anyways, I think that since then, in those years, that costume obviously has become incredibly iconic. So I'm really excited to see it on this small screen, even though it's going to be is this going to be for a CW show?
It is for a movie, I believe.
Okay, it's for a movie. Okay. Because, and maybe this is an interesting segue into maybe some of the next news. But CW shows, Naomi.
You didn't get a chance to watch Naomi.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch Naomi at all. I don't know. CW is never on my radar, but so I'm like, oh, it came out, like, you literally told me, you're like, have you watched Naomi? And I'm like, nah. So apparently it's out. I need to watch it. I guess we can go ahead and watch it on HBO Max. You
did watch something else on HBO Max.
I did watch something else on HBO Max. I watched Peacemaker. I watched the fuck out of Peacemaker, and I loved it.
I also loved Peacemaker. I don't think I loved Peacemaker nearly as much as you did. It was a little strange right now, Also, I'm trying to find a way to get Scott unblocked while also simultaneously doing the show.
Same.
I've been to this part before, and I'm like, what do I do? So if I seem a little distracted, that's why. However, Peacemaker, Peacekeeper, whatever we want to call him, very weird, very strange, very funny, and just weird. All around weird.
It's very weird, and I think that it's interesting because there's a lot of people who are like, what is this Peacemaker? And they'll show him like in his costume, and like the intro to the show is like him doing, and like the rest of the cast doing like a choreographed like dance move thing, and they're like, what is this shit? And clearly, obviously, it's supposed to be maybe a satire, or maybe just like it's meant to be stupid and funny and very aware of itself.
James Gunn, and it feels very classic James Gunn. I feel like Suicide Squad the movie feels very Guardians of the Galaxy James
and
Gunn.
It's done.
However, this Peacemaker show feels very like Slither and Super and just the really weird James Gunn that we were very familiar with before, you know, he was tapped by Disney and by Marvel and then changed it from there. So I know I'm not, I don't want to say I don't love it because I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really weird. Maybe I'm just not as invested because there's not a giant baby shark running around.
That is also true. There's no King Shark yet.
There's no King Shark yet. I'm hoping King Shark shows up. I personally think that this show could honestly just be really crazy with cameos. I know right now we already have we currently have Vigilante in the series, and Vigilante in the series is nothing like how he is in the comics at all. James Gunn really takes these characters, and we see that with Guardians of the Galaxy, but he takes these characters where nobody knows who they are, and then he just kind of decides to do whatever he wants with them, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Which is very Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy was like obscure, no one knew who they were, and then all of a sudden they get, and it's perfect for this type of like, it's a funny show, but I think that there's also some very like heartwarming moments too, which I appreciate. I appreciate the funniness.
It's a very great show, and I personally really like. Also, Scott, I think I've got you fixed.
Ooh, Scott, are you fixed? Everybody comment and say hello, Scott. Welcome back, Scott.
I think I fixed it. I was here messing around, and I think I fixed it. Yay! I had seen how to do it before, but then I forgot because that's how my brain works. But I finally got it. Yay! Anyway, Peacekeeper out right now on HBO Max. What I really like about it, there he is. Yay! I love the fact that they were just like, here, have 3 episodes just all at once, and I'm like,
very much so. And I'm glad for that, because the first episode of Peacemaker I really enjoyed. And then, because like even like the first 5 minutes, like I'm watching it and I look over to my partner and I'm like, I love this show. Like, this show is fucking funny.
It was the intro for you, right? The intro did it.
Yeah, 100%. That intro where they're doing the I actually, even the intro is like that choreographed like dance movement type thing. I actually fucking hate musicals, and I hate anything to do with like anything like that. But I think to use it ironically was funny. I don't know. It's camp. Anyways, and thank you to Noggin Comics.
Yes, thank you so much for becoming a member. And I was reading somewhere that, you know, since we're talking about the intro, James Gunn was like, I want something that's unskippable. And I will say this, that intro is unskippable. If you haven't even watched Peacemaker yet, I highly suggest just going to YouTube and looking up the intro, because the intro alone will probably kind of make you want to watch it.
Yeah. And then at the end, Eagly just comes on like, oh, yeah, it's adorable. What are the so that was Peacemaker. That was we talked about Peacemaker. Like Naomi.
Listen, y'all, I have a whole list of news, okay? We had no comics this week. We only have news this week.
Oh, we have comics. We have comics, don't worry.
We have comics, but speaking of comics, because comics are just insane, and the comic market, I think, is even more insane. We've seen it in the past, like, 3 years, ever since the pandemic started, that, you know, comics are just, they're insane. They're blowing up. Books are constantly spiking, casually spiking for no damn reason. And in the very, you know, light of things spiking. Recently at Heritage Auctions, oh my god, I can't speak. Recently at Heritage Auctions, a Mike Zeck page from Secret Wars number 8 sold for a grand total of $3.36 million for a single page. And this is insanity to me for a multitude of reasons. Number one, that's a lot of goddamn money, especially for a goddamn page that came from the 80s. If this was a page from, say, Action Comics number 1, okay, that's still a lot of money, but I'd kind of understand it. But to have a 80s book with a page spike that much is absolute insanity. It's also insanity to me that Mike Zeck isn't going to see a single cent of this $3.36 million, and it depresses me a little bit. It really does. It makes me really sad, and it's just proof that comics are insane and we're living in an alternate timeline. But also at Heritage Auctions this week, a copy of Action Comics number 1 sold this week for just a little over $3.18 million. Now that I can understand. Listen, that's your like first superhero comic, for lack of a better word. It's the origin of Superman, or not the origin, but the first appearance of Superman. I get it. That makes sense. Not a page from the 80s. What are your thoughts? Would you spend $3.16 million on an Action Comics number 1?
So when you say original art, so it is the one-of-a-kind artwork that was created for the series, right?
One-of-a-kind artwork was created for the series.
But so here's my thing is that like the Action Comics comic, I don't know the print run. Maybe I should probably know what the print run was for that, something like that, but I don't. So like I think of something that probably had a good couple thousand copies versus one of a kind. So I get that like you can't necessarily compare those apples to oranges right there, but I would think that I think that there's so much speculation around Secret Wars and what is coming maybe in the MCU, but
I never thought about it like that.
Even then, we've been burned before because we're still waiting on Mephisto, right? I'm still waiting for Dr. Aphra in Book of Boba Fett and haven't gotten it yet. And so, you know, I think it's one thing to spend money on that like kind of speculation. I think that's what's driving it up just a little bit. You don't need to speculate the other thing because we know Action Comics, like that's going to be a piece of history forever. Where Secret War may be a piece of history, but its popularity will come and go.
It's possible. It's very possible. It's just insanity to me to see things, you know, just spike the way that they are. And I've seen a couple people talk about it, but it feels like we're in this bubble for comic books and in terms of the comic book market right now. And it feels like at any moment, this bubble is going to burst and it's going to be messy and it's going to get everywhere. And there's going to be a lot of regrets probably.
I am, here's the thing is that like I think about this a lot. So I'm like anti like extreme capitalism where it's like we need to work people to death just to make a little bit of extra profit. And I think about being a millennial and I'm like, I don't really have a retirement plan. Like I just hope that we have universal health care before I retire. Like I just hope that society hasn't completely collapsed before retirement. Like that's honestly my retirement plan. Like I don't have one. And so when I think about like the real estate bubble market, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll buy a house if there's another 2008 housing market crisis. Maybe that's when I'll be able to buy a home. So I also think about if there is this huge crash in the comic book market, I'm like, what comic books am I going to buy? So I do think about that a little bit where I'm like, I'm going to take advantage of that comic book bubble market.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to be the person who spends several $1 million on comic books just to be like, it's not worth anything now, but anything that I would buy would be worth something to me. Like, I think that's the difference between people who speculate and people who buy things because they think they're investing in some type of non-digital cryptocurrency in comic books. Like you're not, you are investing in like you should think about investing in someone's work, in someone's art, in something that you enjoy the story, not necessarily like, oh, like I'm going to buy this page and I'm going to buy it for 1 million and then flip it for $3 million later. So
yeah, no, it's insane. Yeah. So what you're saying is you don't want to be Nicolas Cage. Do you know the Nicolas Cage Action Comics story?
He bought it, right? You need to tell me the story.
All right, so Nicolas Cage, as we all know, famous actor who watches the show, big fan of the show.
Yeah, hi Nicolas Cage. Really loved you and Mandy. Loved you and Mandy.
No, Face Off. Listen, one Nicolas Cage movie, Face Off forever. I will die on this hill. Face Off is one of the best movies of all time. So Nicolas Cage is a huge Superman fan, like humongous Superman fan. And he had bought years and years ago a copy of Action Comics #1. Well, apparently somebody broke into his house or whatever, and they stole his Action Comics #1. Nicolas Cage loves Superman so much that within 48 hours, he had already purchased another copy of Action Comics #1. And to me, that is just ridiculous that this man...
This is why we need to eat rich people.
This is why we need to eat rich people. I mean, listen, I love him for his passion for the character. Listen, if I had that amount of money and somebody had, you know, like if I had the first copy of Scarlet Witch and somebody stole it and I had disposable income, I'd probably do the same thing too. I'm not going to lie. I'd be like, I need it back. But it's just insane to me that within 48 hours, he was like, I love this book so much. I need it now. That is a Mars personality trait right there.
And I get that. Like at the end of the day, it's all just stuff. Like I think about if my apartment was on fire and it's like, okay, I had to like get my cats out of the apartment. I will need to grab maybe like a couple of things. Like I'll be grabbing my cats, House of Secrets 92, and that's about it. Like no offense
I have a box.
to all the
I have a box of my most important comics that if there is a fire, that's the first thing that goes out the window. It used to be when I had cats, my cats would be first and my comics would be second. Now I don't have a cat, so now it's just the comics.
I want to know from the chat, what would be the comic book or comic books that you have? Like, do you have a box of like, these are the most valuable ones that you would grab? What's your house fire comic? Like your house is on fire.
What is your house fire comic? That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. So I want to know, like, what is everyone's, like, this is the book that I would grab. For me, I mean, granted, like, even if I needed to, like, my cats are more important than that. Like, Luna, you gotta come with me. You can't survive on your own. You're too stupid. Too fat. Who would feed you 5 times a day, buddy? So, I love this. I love this little dude so much.
I don't know if I have a single book that I would take. I really don't. I don't know. Okay, that's a lie. I take it back. It would be my first appearance of Black Canary. I take it back.
I was just going to say first appearance of Amanda Waller, but Black Canary. Okay.
But the Amanda Waller book is such a cheap book. Like, that's a book that you can buy for $20, and I'd be like, okay. My Black Canary book is a little pricey, and it has a story behind it, so yeah. There you go. I like that plan.
Oh my. Scott, this one hurts because my 2BR pile is probably a good, like, 100 graphic novels deep. And I don't even want to think about how many single issues deep it is at this point, and that's why 2022 be red pile.
I like this answer from John.
Leave the kids behind. Your kids are old enough. And then if anything happened to your kids, you would become the best part of your show, John.
Exactly.
Bitterroot Comics.
We've got some really good answers coming in. I like this one from Noggin Comics. The signed Saga copies and first appearance of Miles. If that was in my collection, yes, I would also. Yeah.
Saga #1. So here's the thing is that Saga #1 is in like one of my boxes over there. It'd be a little bit harder to find. So I'd be like, I guess, I might leave that one behind. I know right where my House of Secrets 92 is.
It's by her bed. It's on her nightstand, everybody. She looks at it every morning when she wakes up.
Yeah. Goodness. What we need to talk about the relaunch of Amazing Spider-Man again. What? Tell me about this. I need to know.
So I was gonna put this on the news list, but then I decided to take it off because I'm like, I don't care enough to talk about it. But I think, I might be wrong, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, supposedly they're relaunching Spider-Man again. And they're bringing John Romita Jr. to do it. Listen, y'all, I thought we left John Romita Jr. in the 80s. Why is he still here? What is going on? I'm not
Everybody needs a comeback, I guess.
I'm not a fan of John Romita Jr. I think his artwork is really, really ugly. It's right up there with Frank Miller's artwork. I don't understand why y'all are like, oh, this art is so great.
Frank Miller simps.
I don't get it. So yeah, that's all I have for the relaunch of Spider-Man is John Romita Jr. is back on the art, and I'm very just confused over the excitement for it. Maybe it's because I'm not a Spidey fan. Maybe it's because I'm not like an old Marvel fan.
I get that. And I think, too, is that a lot of these relaunches are being relaunched with newer, maybe, like, you have to take a risk almost, like, on these newer creative teams, where if you bring someone back and everybody hates it, there you go. We lost Michael Turner, but fuck.
I can't. It's the truth. But here's the thing, though. Michael Turner also won't leave us alone. Like, that is the definition of. I don't even want to finish
we make fun of we make fun of Liefeld for like very unrealistic body types, Rob Liefeld and you know that crew. But seriously, Michael Turner is probably like, when I think about distorted female humanoid alien shapes, I think of Michael Turner's art 100%.
I do 100%. And speaking of Rob Liefeld, that was a did you do that on purpose?
No,
did you do that on purpose?
It's just the Rob Liefeld segment of the show.
The Rob Liefeld segment of the show. We're 42
everybody show their
we're
feet.
Still on news. It's in so Liefeld, surprising no one, has announced that he is joining in on the NFT game with a new comic book universe created only by Rob Liefeld, only for Rob Liefeld. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm surprised that it took him this long to announce that he was doing NFTs. I expected like, oh, NFTs, Rob Liefeld right out the gate being like, all right, I've got a Deadpool NFT here. Who wants it? It took him a couple months. He's a little slow on the game. What's he doing?
I mean, you could crypto, like making your own like cryptocurrency has been around for like at least several years now. Making your own like type of cryptocurrency that's on the blockchain, but like doing this whole NFT thing, it doesn't surprise me how, because of the way that like artists are trying to make money off of NFTs. But I don't know, enjoy your digital Beanie Babies in, you know, whatever.
Your digital Funkos.
Your digital Funko Pops. That's honestly like, as much as I'm like, I've got a shit ton of Funko Pops up above me and action figures and shit, like I don't buy Funko Pops because I'm like, oh, I'm going to invest and then I'm going to flip them. It's because I like them. It's because I like the characters. But nothing that I've seen with NFTs is like, I need to buy this NFT because I need this picture of like a hot dog riding a skateboard.
It's just, it's bad. And I just don't, I mean, I don't like Liefeld to begin with, but it's just, it's stupid. But you know, speaking of stupid and stupid creators,
hold on. I need to address this. So I know we talked about the Rob Liefeld segment of the show. I think I'm going to rename this Rob Liefeld segment of the show Robservations.
I like that. Robservations.
Okay. Robservations.
No, I like that. We're gonna pen that in. Robservations. Speaking of dumb dumb doo-doo head creators who are doing dumb dumb doo-doo head things, let's see. Robert Kirkman is back up to his shenanigans again. So
back on.
Robert Kirkman, president of Image Comics right now, creator of hit things like The Walking Dead and Invincible. Apparently, it has come to light that he tricked somebody into basically forfeiting their rights to anything Invincible related.
The creator, I think you said it was the colorist, had a verbal agreement that the colorist was going to get a percentage of any, like it was like a higher percentage for like merchandise or things like that, but then a little bit of a smaller percentage of any like movie, TV show, anything like that. Like it was something like 10%. Which feels like a lot, especially I'm sure Robert Kirkman getting paid lots and lots of money from Amazon for Invincible, but
It's just ridiculous. And I see what makes me, I think, sad or upset or angry or maybe all of the above is seeing the way that comic fans are reacting. It really bothers me because you got a lot of people, people like us that are like, okay, you're part of that creative team. You deserve to have some type of credit, whether you're a colorist, whether you're a letterer or whatever. There's a lot of people out there right now that are like, well, he's just the colorist. And here's the thing. A book like Invincible is as iconic as it is and has the style that it has because of its colorist.
Yeah.
If you did not, and I can't think of the person's name right now, I'm sorry, I'm completely blanking. I didn't write it in my notes, but the colorist for Invincible is a creator of that book. He created that style. He gave it the life that it has. If you had somebody else on that book, the branding, if you had somebody else on that book, it wouldn't feel the same. And by extension, it's kind of like the whole David Aja conversation that we have with Disney Plus and with Hawkeye in terms of how they did their intro. The Invincible TV show would not have the style, look, and color it does without the creative team behind it. So yes, I do think that this person needs to get the credit that they deserve. I believe that they deserve as much rights as their writer and their artist on the book as well. And it's just unfortunate because apparently this is not the first time Robert Kirkman has kind of swindled somebody out of their rights to a property, because we saw it before with The Walking Dead.
Yep. And especially, it's so disheartening. And to bring up unofficial geek, like not buying Image comic books because of that and the union stuff, I think it's so disheartening to see, like, they created Image comic books for creators by creators, and then when people are like, okay, we as, like, maybe even to a lesser extent the creative team who like help edit the book and help make sure Image books get published, they're not getting their due. They're not getting these collective bargaining rights that they're asking for. So it's really disheartening to see, like, hey, I'm here for like the people and I'm here for creators, but then you're fucking over your creators. And 100%, that's why comics will break your heart, is because comic book creators get shat on time and time and time again, whether it's by the writer, by whether it's someone else that they created this huge property with. Man, breaking my heart.
Yeah, it's rough. It's been a rough week for comic news. And it's just kind of sad because as we see more comic books get adapted, become these big multi-million-dollar properties with these huge overreaching fan bases, we have to remember, and it's like what John said, it's a creative team for a reason. It's not just two people that bring this property to life. It's a team. So I don't know. I feel like this may be like a warning sign. I know for me personally, I don't think I personally would like to pick up anything Robert Kirkman has done. I don't think I'm a fan of most of his work anyway. Walking Dead, I was kind of okay on. Invincible, I didn't really care for the first volume when I read it. But it is definitely one of those keep your distance and keep a watchful eye and kind of see what shenanigans. I mean, I hope they don't, but I'm sure we'll see more shenanigans come out of Robert Kirkman in the future.
What I would say is that, like, just taking a look at Robert Kirkman as a writer, I think suffers maybe from the same thing Cullen Bunn does, where I think that Cullen Bunn has really good ideas. Like, Cullen Bunn is a horror writer, horror science fiction writer, comes up with some really cool, interesting ideas, but then the execution, maybe the characters aren't there, maybe the plot doesn't get developed in a way that I think goes really well past one volume. So I don't know, because I think Walking Dead had its place. I think Invincible has its place. But then when I take a look at some of the other stuff, like that Robert Kirkman has done, say like Outcast, or I can't think of some of the other ones that he's done, but I'm just like, meh, it's okay. Sounds cool, but
it's very meh. That's all I have for comic news. We're 50 minutes into the show and we're still talking about the shenanigans of the week. Before we move into our actual comic segment, where we did read some comics, I promise. Do you have any other news or anything else that we need to talk about or touch upon, or am I missing anything?
Not that I can think of. I think that was it. We talked a lot about news this week. There's a lot of stuff. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and talk comics. I'm very curious. I don't know if, since we're on the topic of like Robert Kirkman and Image, if we want to start off with indie or if we want to go with Marvel, because neither of us have DC books this week.
We have no DC books this week.
So chat, what do you want? Do you want us to start off with indie or do you want to start off with Marvel? Your choice.
Chat's choice.
Chat's choice. And I just gotta say, sorry, this dude is so big and heavy, but I gotta get him off. There we go.
I wonder if our Luna emote is live yet. So members, if you are in the chat,
members only.
I believe that if you put I believe it's like the double colon with the word Luna, you may get a little Luna emote. I believe that is now live. So if anybody wants to test that, they should, because I would like to see a little baby Luna pop up.
Yeah.
But it looks like the chat is rooting for indies. It feels like that's what they want. So
I'm here to
we
give
do.
people what they want.
I have 2 titles from Image. Should we just start with Image since that is the topic of conversation?
I think I have 3 or 4 from Image. Okay. Specifically, I may have more, like 4 or 5. So let me go ahead and get these all situated. I've got 3. 3 from Image.
What do you have?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start off with the one that I know that you don't have, and that is Department of Truth number 15. So for those of you who don't know about this book, it's basically full of conspiracy theories. It's become like an episode of the episode of the week, where it's like a weekly monster, kind of like, I mean, I guess it's kind of like X-Files, where it's episodic. This particular issue number 15, was, in my opinion, the most boring of all of them, because it's like a case file. Like, it's all just either you see evidence or you see an interview sheet. So I felt like it was really boring, and I felt myself, I'm like, I'm probably missing something from this. But yeah, it's all like case files.
There's no, I was going to say, what is like the monster or the conspiracy theory that we're currently on?
So it kind of went over a couple of them, but the last one was Mothman. It does have some really beautiful art, so you can see like Mothman, Cthulhu-y type art. And they're in like West Virginia. So, probably my least favorite, and I'm glad that it came on issue 15. But I really hope this isn't the last one of the art, because that would be kind of boring. But yeah,
womp womp,
womp womp. Still a really good series. Still really love it. It's not going off my pull list anytime soon. So yeah.
What else do you have? Because like I said, I think I had a small week this week. I only had like 6 books, I think, total.
My next one for Image, I think that you got this one. What's the furthest place from here? I guess I accidentally ordered 2, so I got 2 covers. This one picked up a lot for me, but I was still kind of confused.
I agree. I am very confused. I'll be honest. I feel like if this was not the creative team that it was, because I'm a huge fan of Tyler Boss, and Matthew Rosenberg championed it several times. 4 Kids is probably one, if not my favorite book of all time. So I was excited to see them return and kind of have that same wit and humor, but at the same time seriousness that was brought with that book. And I feel exactly where you are, where I'm just very confused. We're being introduced to all of these really weird families. I really liked, I will say, towards the end, where it kind of got a little horror-esque and a little violent.
Yes, very slasher-y. Yes. So they introduce in this one, so there's like you said, there's this other family there, and it looks like all of these people they look older, like they're dressed up, and I don't know if this character is supposed to be like a stand-in for Dr. Frankenfurter. That's what it felt like for me, with like the green outfit and then the pearls. It just looked very Dr. Frankenfurter-esque to me. But it was very weird. It's like younger people pretending to be older people, I think. And the weird fucking dentures this person is wearing threw me off.
It's definitely a very strange book. Some of the coloring was off for me a little bit, and I think that's because I think the coloring was on purpose. Because it does state that we have a colorist in this book, and normally, or not a colorist, I'm sorry. It does, the coloring is just off in certain areas.
There's a color assistant.
There's a color assistant because Tyler Boss typically uses flat colors and textures in his coloring. And we kind of start to see the flat colors come back towards the end of the book after they've kind of escaped from this weird fun house. So I'm not wondering if having the shading in was supposed to help with the storytelling. I don't know. It was just very jarring for me in certain areas.
I think it ruined the art. I'm just going to go ahead and flat out say I feel like it ruined the art.
I agree, because Tyler Boss has a very unique style, and we saw it with Dead Dogs Bite. We see it with Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, where flat colors really work with his art, because he has a very unique comic, like almost like a cartoon strip type art style. Yeah. And that's what I really, really like about him. I'm going to continue to read it because I believe is this only 5 issues, I believe?
I thought it was 4, but it could be 5.
4. I believe it's 5 issues. I still don't know where it's going. I'm hoping that it's going to be better.
Going far away from compiled.
Here. I will say this. This was the book that I waited literally years for. I waited years for this book, and I'm just feeling very disappointed by it.
I think that can happen, especially when it's like we've been waiting for the series, or it's a series that has a lot of expectations. I still have so much faith in this creative team that I'm like, okay, I'm still going to buy issue 4. Like, I'm still going to buy this issue when it comes out. But the artwork in this week felt a little bit disappointing. But, you know, I'm still here for it.
I'm still here for it. That, and I love Matt Rosenberg's promotion for What's the Furthest Place from Here. If you're on his
He's
Twitter,
doing a lot of memes.
He is doing the absolute most. Like, recently, I believe yesterday, he released what was the Coachella lineup, but he redid it with all of the bands being different abbreviations of What's the Furthest Place from Here. That man puts in work when he promotes his books. Like, he is the GOAT when it comes to promotion in terms of his comics. I love Matt Rosenberg so much. If you ever have the chance to meet him, he's just a chill dude. He's so chill.
Oh. There's one other image book that I got. I got a couple other indies, but there's one other image book, and I know that you have feelings. I'm going to go ahead and describe this book really quick for people who didn't get a chance to pick this one up or read it. But this one's called Rain, and it is based on a short story by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son. This comic book adaptation, I do want to say, was written by David Boer, who is a queer man. And this book is very queer, but it has all of the worst tropes.
We're in 2022, and we are still playing the bury the gays trope. And I am so angry because I really, really liked this book. I loved this book. I love the concept behind it. I love the gays. I think the artwork is divine. Beautiful. I think it has some of the way that the two queer characters talk about each other. The way that they describe their love for one another, them talking about their coming out stories to their parents, everything about it comes from a place of love and a place of pureness. And then, it ends with,
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, it ends with one of the characters dying. And I put the book down and I'm like, I want to say I'm trying to find blame here, or put blame, because I absolutely don't want to blame David Boer, because David Boer, being a queer man himself and giving us queer works that are absolutely fantastic, like Killer Queens.
Like, thank you for Killer Queens.
Something in the back of my head is like, David Boer is just adapting something that Joe Hill created. And it makes me kind of want to read the novella and see if the characters were queer in that. And if so, then I can be upset with Joe Hill. But if they weren't queer and David Booher made them queer and then killed them, then I'm sorry, David Booher, the blame gets put on you.
And really
it just upsets me because I love the concept of this weird post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, so basically what happens is that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this book is set in Denver, Colorado. Out of nowhere, it's a bright, beautiful, sunny day. So everybody's outside. Everybody's enjoying the day. Our cute little couple here on the front is having a cute-ass queer little picnic. And then all of a sudden,
they're moving in. They're moving in together.
They're moving in together. So they're outside and they're getting ready to like move in together. There's other characters who are having a picnic, and there's another character who's like sunbathing, and they all of a sudden it starts raining nails from the sky, crystal shards or nails from the sky,
spikes or something,
spikes, and thousands of people die all of a sudden. Like it even mentions in part of it, like there was a news journalist on screen doing the math of how many people died per second, and they start crying. So like there's moments where it's like incredibly like moving and you can like feel it, but then it's like, why did you have to kill off 2 queer characters just to tell us a beautiful love story? Enough queer people have died.
Because that's what it is. It starts off as this very beautiful queer love story, and as I was reading it, I had to stop myself because I'm like, okay, this book is called Rain. And I looked at the previews and the description of what this book was about, because I could not remember what this book was about. I just remembered that it was a Joe Hill adaptation. And I'm like, Joe Hill wrote a really great queer comic? I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then it clicked that, no, this is going to be a horror book. And I'm sorry, I understand that it's his son, but this feels like classic Stephen King to me, where we're using very weird and outdated tropes that make no absolute goddamn sense. But at the same time,
I know what it was. Joe Hill was snorting cocaine while writing this, just like his dad.
But at the same time, I'm fascinated because, like I said, this feels like classic Stephen King. Like it feels like The Mist. And that's one of my favorite Stephen King stories. It's one of my favorite Stephen King movies. And it feels like one of those where it's so bizarre. And I want to see how these characters deal with the problems and how they're going to, quote unquote, solve the day. But I don't want to see it happen at the expense of a queer couple being happy. Again, I'm just going to reiterate it. It's 2022. We need to leave the bury the gays trope in the past. I am tired. I am exhausted. Maybe I'll read it all when it comes out in trade or as Image sends it to me. But if I will say this, because I did not physically buy this issue. I was sent this issue by somebody from the Image team. And I'm going to be honest, if I had spent my money on a book where I have to watch queer people die, I would be more furious than I am right
now. Feel this is a safe place. Chris,
this is a safe place.
Ask your question.
It's a safe place.
I knew that I knew the premise of the book, and the person at the shop who rang me up for this said that I'm like, okay, I know this book is problematic. I haven't read the book. I know that this is kind of what happens, and they're like, it happens, and it's still very violent. I still bought it anyways because I had pre-ordered it, but I might wait for trade. I'm not sure. We'll see.
It's just a shame because it's like, I love the concept of the story. I love this idea that nails rain down from the sky and it's people being caught in it and you don't know what's going on. I love that type of weird, when we think about like horror and weird shit, that's the type of weird shit that I love and I crave, but I don't know. I feel dirty just talking about it. I really do. I feel just gross. Joe Hill, we need to have a conversation. Just casual conversation. I won't bring violence. I'll reserve that. But I don't know. I just want to I want to see what the thought process was behind it.
Yeah. So that's it for Image. Do you have any other indie books? Because I've got a couple. There's one more indie.
I have another indie book that I have. You know what? Let's go from one bad queer story to a good queer story. Let's do that. Let's make Mars happy. And that's Rewrite Titans from Volt Comics. Whew. All right, because we did this last year where Hollow Heart came out. I'm like, oh, book of the year. I love this book. It's my favorite thing since sliced bread. And then the Hollow Heart, at least for me, was a little bit of a disappointment. But yo, man, this is my jam. Listen, if you don't know me, one of my favorite movies of all time is Pacific Rim. This book is gay Pacific Rim, y'all. It's literally fucking people getting into mechs and beating the shit out of kaiju. And it is so freaking cool. And I love this book. I love this book so much.
And what I love about it is that the characters are instantly, not instantly, but like the main character, Kit, is like a bad good guy, I guess. Like, it seems problematic.
They're seen as like the black sheep of their family.
Yes. So the premise of this is basically that there are kaiju that attack the city, but then there are big Titan robot things that are operated to defeat them into battle. And the whole world, I guess, is basically like, okay, this is what we'll do. We'll kind of put up with it. We'll send people into these big Kit, get into the damn
robot, Kit.
Get into the robot, Shinji. So that's basically what happens in this, is that like there's an Evangelion mech that Kit's brother is operating. Something happens and the brother can't do it anymore. So then the mom comes to Kit and is basically like, hey, sweetie, I know we haven't talked in a while, but like your brother needs help. You need to operate this thing. And Kit is like, God damn it, it was my last day before retirement or whatever. But I don't know. I love this story, but here's me choosing violence.
Oh no.
The first 7 pages of artwork are fantastic, are absolutely beautiful. Like this is like the second, third page of artwork, third and fourth page of artwork. And then like, I'm really digging this, but then it felt like to me, the rest of is like this. It felt like I don't want to shit on the artwork, but I feel like I'm shitting on the artwork a little bit here.
No, I see what you're moving. It's very, because I didn't think about that when I was reading it, but I can see it now as I'm kind of flipping through, is you have these really dynamic backgrounds in the first couple issues.
And they're using the full page.
They're utilizing the full page, whereas when you go in further to it, we're seeing a lot of reusing of backgrounds. We're seeing a lot of characters being in the same positions and subtly changing, their movement to, identify that there is movement in the panel. Mm-hmm. And that works for somebody like Tyler Boss, where it's very like creative and it's very cartoony. But in this, now that you're saying it, I can see that it's going to be something that bothers me. But I still don't think it's terrible, because I think when we look at the characters and the figure work, their characters are still pretty. I still really like the coloring on this. And who knows, maybe it's a metaphor because, it's going into the action and then stepping away and, being away from the family.
Yeah, because and I agree, because obviously when you have some really action-packed pages, the pages where it's just people talking, but at the same time, I just think that there could have been a more dynamic way. There's just a lot of empty space, and that bothers me.
Okay.
So I think that because where this issue set up some of the moments quiet moments where you need to talk to family and things like that. So I think that the next couple of issues are going to be more action packed. And so I still really, really loved this book. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up about this is that it's published by Vault. I think that they are only doing 1 new series a month, so they're not going to drown you with new series. They also, I know we brought it up last week where we talked about incentive variants. So Vault is one of the only companies that I know of that do 1 in 5, 1 in 10, 1 in 20 variant covers, as opposed to 1 in 25, 1 in 50. They're actually doing 1 in 5, 1 in 10, which I thought was pretty interesting.
It is pretty interesting because it allows more people who get their, because obviously you're going to be getting 5 copies or 10 copies and 20. But what's also really great about Volt is they offer really awesome returnability on their books with shop. So what that means is, you get in a book for your shop, you buy 30 copies of a book thinking it's going to sell, and say you only sell 15. You usually have, I think, give them up to 3 months to return however many books that they may have and get back a full refund. I'm not entirely sure if this is just on the number ones or if this is on all of their titles. I want to say it's only on the number ones because it makes more sense for it to be on number ones, because obviously you're taking more of a risk there. But I like that because it allows shops to take that risk. And I see that even with my shop that tries to not order as much indie, as sad as it makes me. Because they don't want to take the risk. And then they've been getting all of the Volt titles in, and not only getting them in, but they're getting, more copies than what I would expect. And they're selling, which is great because people see it and they see these really cool concepts. And it's just, I really love them as a publisher. And this year actually marks the 5-year anniversary of Volt Comics, which is incredibly exciting. And also makes me feel old because I remember when they first launched and being so excited for titles like Heathens. And now to think that 5 years later, they are still publishing what I personally believe is some of the best working comics. I can't wait to see what they do for their anniversary year.
100% agree. Really quick, I want to acknowledge this comment because Chris mentioned they had a question. So, because we were talking earlier about the
bury your gaze trope.
Yeah, and I think that not only does this happen with bury your gaze, but it's also like girlfriend in a refrigerator trope, where it's like any queer character ends up dead for the sake of a storyline. Like there has to be tragedy for the sake of a storyline. Same thing with like female characters that are in a relationship with a male protagonist, is that they end up dead just for the sake of a male character's plot line, maybe self-discovery or something like that. And so I think what Chris is asking is, what if the writer's queer and it's okay for them? I get that, but at the same time, queer people read it. And if queer people are reading something and they're like, hey, I feel like I identified with this character, and they end up dead, that really sucks, especially in something like Rain, where, spoiler alert, the character who dies is also the character of color. Like, it just feels really fucked up. And I think that we see that too often. We're calling it a trope for a reason, is because a trope is like a stereotype. Like we see it again and again and again in writing, and it just feels like sloppy writing. So
yeah, and I feel like with Rain in particular, I'm not saying that the character can't die, but the idea that the character died at the end of the first issue, where is that going to give our motivations? It's different if we see 3 or 4 issues together, and then the ultimate issue, we see our character die, and then we have to see our other main character struggle with that and see how they develop. We're one-offing them before we get a chance to interact and connect with this character that you kind of set up to be one of your other main characters. It's just very weird, very awkward. And Jen does make the point. We see it outside of her culture as well. We see it. I mean, Gail Simone's whole career is because she called out fridging. So I don't know.
This is an ongoing discussion. I don't have
discussion. Yeah.
I don't necessarily have like a hey, I think that we can stop this trope by only having queer people write queer stories, because obviously like that's not the case.
Look at Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor's not queer and is writing some of the most realistic and connectable queer characters in media right now.
Yeah, same thing with Greg Rucka. Writing great queer characters that I identify with, and granted, like, we've talked about Batwoman before, and like, some ish that happened with that, but I think that it's something that I don't like to see, so every time I see it, I'm going to call it out.
But it's good that we can have this dialogue too, because different people are going to experience it differently. Obviously, as a queer woman, I see that, I'm going to immediately feel a certain type of way versus, say, maybe a straight man or even a queer man. You know, it's a good dialogue though, and that's why I like our show, because we can have these discussions, we can have this platform where it doesn't feel like well, I'm wrong and you're right, or you're wrong and I'm right sort of conversation. So it's good talk to have.
It is. So was that all the indie books that you have? Because I've got 3 more, and I think two may have been from previous weeks.
I have 1/2 more because they're kind of combined. So if you want to talk about yours, then I can kind of go into mine.
Okay.
And we'll go from
there. So I picked up this one, and this one may have been from a couple of weeks ago, but it's called Children of the Plague. And it's a one-shot by Dark Horse, and it's basically, it almost makes me feel like We Ride Titans, where it is a monster battling woman who is in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. It was pretty fun. It's just a one shot, so it's not necessarily like, goes on and on and on forever, but I appreciated it. It's written by Robert Love, and the artwork is done by Jeffrey Kimbler.
You scared me there for a second. I thought you were saying Robert Liefeld, and I'm like, wait a second, what?
No. Oh, sorry. The story and art is done by Robert Love. So one of the things about this book is that I really appreciated the story. The artwork is pretty good, but there are some panels that do fall flat. Like maybe some more of the simpler, we're just kind of talking panels. But I still thought it was pretty interesting. I really would like to see more, but it was a one shot. But Children of the Plague was a very interesting post-apocalyptic monster kaiju fighting thing, and I liked it. I also got this one, and it's published by Uncivilized Books, and it looks like more of a self-published type thing. But it's called West. It starts off with these folks who are just gardening, and it just goes weird, and there's a talking cat that was apparently used to be a human. It gets weird, and then gets weirder, and then gets weirder. So I don't know if many people would be able to find it, because my shop books with pictures ends up getting a lot of just weird self-published books, and this one was really good. The artwork is just plain black and white. Very indie, but I really, really enjoyed it. And sorry, I do have one more. And since he's here listening, I want to go ahead and say I did pick up on Scott's recommendation. So Scott Hazelwood, so he did a video talking about some of the lesser known books of 2021, and so I got Faster by Jesse Lonergan, and this one was really fun. It's like Speed Racer-ish. I don't know. And Jesse Lonergan did Hedra that came out this last year, but Hedra was twice the size, and this one's much smaller.
I loved Hedra.
Yeah, and so this one was like that, but so it's just kind of weird. But I really, really enjoyed it, and it was a really quick read, and I liked it. So there you go.
So the last indie book that I have, so it's kind of weird, so I'm kind of go into it. So this week I read Hotel, the first volume of Hotel from AWA Upshot, who a book that we like, Not All Robots. I BS'd with Hotel, for lack of a better word. It is probably one of the best horror books that I have read in a long, long time. It is a horror anthology story about this little motel off of Route 66, and basically this book alone has 4 stories in it, but each individual issue is its own separate story. But what's really cool about Hotel is while each individual story is self-contained, we can see these characters interacting with each other throughout the story, and we can see the perspectives as the story goes on. Like, for example, the girl in the first story goes and knocks on the door of the second, story of their people, and they have a conversation. And then we see that conversation again as the perspective, of the person in room 2 versus room 1, and everything is connected. And as you read this book, you kind of start to see all the pieces. It has this really cool, Ice Cream Man, American Horror Story type vibe to it, because you get the I don't want to call him the innkeeper, but he's the man at the front desk who sort of acts like our crypt keeper, ice cream man-esque character, and is like telling us the stories as they go on. And then this week, we got Hotel Volume 2, Issue 2. So I went back and I bought Issue 1 and Issue 2 digitally because, like I said, my brain right now is obsessed with this book. And it's just as good as the second story, and it's doing the same exact thing where I believe that Volume 2 is 5 issues instead of 4, but each issue is its own self-contained thing. But again, we're seeing as characters interact with one another. Like maybe somebody may be knocking on a wall in one story, and then in issue 2, we'll find out what that knock was coming from or who was doing it. And it's just really bizarre, very weird. I can't wait for Halloween to roll around because this is definitely going to be at the top of my horror recommended reading list. If you're into books like that, please pick it up. It's so good. So good. And I would even go to say is, if you're in your shop and you see Hotel Volume 2, like issues 1 and 2, I would say you could pick those up because it's following 2 different groups of people.
Okay, so you don't need to necessarily read. And see, I think that's my problem, is that I didn't really understand that it was an anthology, so I'm like, okay, I can't read Volume 2 or Season 2 without reading Volume 1. Yeah, so, okay, that's good to know. Because I feel like that's what I recommend with Ice Cream Man. I'm like, even though Ice Cream Man is on its, 6th volume or something like that, I tell people, just pick up the single issues because they're all incredible on their own. So I may just have to go ahead and pick those up because I love a good horror anthology.
Very, very, very good. AWA, if you continue putting out stuff. I think I told you backstage, I think I might actually like this more than Not All Robots.
That's a tall order, Missy.
It's a good book. It's a very good book. And then you're going to go ahead and break my heart and read it and tell me you didn't really like it. So
I didn't really like it.
It's fine. It happens all the time.
The only other book that I have that's an indie book, Last Session by Mad Cave. This is issue number 2.
I read it. It was so good.
Okay. It's so adorable. It's basically about this group of college kids who are doing this D&D campaign, and they introduce a new person to their group, and it's this issue specifically, they're they're all okay, well, I'm graduating and I'm going to go here and I'm going to move and I'm going to go on with my life. And they're all it's half and half in the session, outside of the session. And they introduce someone into the group, and they're fucking this whole thing up. They're screwing up the dynamic. So it's in-game group dynamics and out-of-game group dynamics. And it's so fun and wholesome. And it's Die by Image,
but friendly
and
happy.
And it's a lot less depressing, which I love a good depressing read, but it is the happy version of Die. It's a queer version of Die, more diverse than Die.
Cast. Yeah. And so, I really love those variant covers for Last Session, because the variant covers right now are all character sheets for the characters, and I just think that they're so cute. I love that. I kind of wish Die had done that, where they gave us character sheets for these characters, but you know what? Mad Cave's on a roll right now with what they're putting out in 2022.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so trying to see how many books I actually have. I think I only picked up one variant. All these are Marvel.
You're insane.
So I only have.
I have two little Marvel books. 2.
I've got two variant covers, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Marvel books this week.
Jesus. All right, let's see. What did you pick up for Marvel this week, Jen?
Okay, so really quick, I picked up Devil's Reign Superior 4. This is an alternate version where Doc Ock gets a group of people. So instead of it being the Sinister Six, it is Superior 4, and it's different people from the universe, and they all have multiple arms. So you have Hulk with multiple arms, and Doc Ock is basically going on a power trip where he is I'm the smartest, best person of all, and I need to go to all the universes and find the smartest people and get them all together. It was pretty interesting. I don't know
I've heard some good things about it.
Yeah, surprising, because I'm not really a spider person. And so it was a pretty interesting read. and I liked it. I don't know if I would read more outside of this, but that's where we're at with that. Did you get Dark Ages number 4?
I did not. I stopped reading Dark Ages and decided I was just going to trade weight it.
Yeah. Still a pretty good, solid story. They're all these characters from the Marvel Universe. It's an alternative book where it's an alternative universe book in a world where like everyone loses power, so they're basically all like using steam power, or like they can't use electricity, so how do a lot of people's suits
like
work, or their gadgets and stuff work? So Tom Taylor's just doing some really fun things. Spoiler alert, Fin Fang Foom pops up in this one, so I thought that was kind of cute.
I saw somebody sent me a panel of that because apparently we get a double fastball in that, and we see Laura Kinney and Honey Badger thrown through the air, and I love that Tom Taylor's like, I'm writing a Marvel book. I have to put my babies in it.
Yep. One of the other books, Star Wars, Eye of the Storm. I tried reading this with the perspective of pretend it's not a Star Wars book. When I read it like that, it's a really good just science fiction book, because apparently there's this like storm on a planet or somewhere in space, and it's about this character becoming / finding out that they're evil, I guess. I really liked the artwork, but I really seriously have to read this as not a Star Wars book, and I like it. If I try to read too much into where does this fit into the Star Wars universe, and how do I patchwork everything into what I know about Star Wars, I don't know if I'm going to be picking up more of it, because
we all know Jen breaks my heart by saying she does not love Star Wars, but that's fine.
But I love Star Trek a lot, so
it's fine.
Let's see here. I'm trying to pick all the books that you didn't read and go through them. We got the last issue of this arc of Marauders, where it's like the Hellfire Club, will they or won't they, who is left at the end of the day. Just a really good series by our friend Gary Jerry Dugan Duggan. Let's see what else. The last issue of Dark Hawk number 5 came out. So this was the last of the, I don't know if it's a 5-issue series or just the end of the arc, but it's the last one. It's done by Kyle Higgins, who I guess mostly known for Power Rangers. This character gets diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, and ends up also getting superpowers at the same time. There's not really like too much of a spoiler in this, but he ends up telling his basketball crew or his sports crew that he got diagnosed with MS, and it got really emotional. I really enjoyed it. My favorite part about this series is that in each issue, Kyle Higgins interviews someone with multiple sclerosis, specifically like a lot of times artists, so I really appreciate that. So Darkhawk trade should be coming out soon. The last one that I have here that I don't think that you read, Marvel Voices Heritage. This is the second one. There was one that came out last year. So it's basically all indigenous like voices, as it were. And hello to Bueller. How is the Bueller bus doing? Been loving those updates. So anyways, back to this. I really like this. It was really fun, and of course I got to I had to get the David Mack variant.
Of course, so, you always do.
Always do. Anytime there's like a Peach Momoko or David Mack variant cover, I'm like, I gotta get it. Okay, so those are all the books that I got that you didn't get. Oh wait, there's one more. This one was my favorite book of the week.
Of the whole week. Oh, yeah. So talk to me a little bit about The Thing throughout the week. Something happens in The Thing, something very exciting, something on brand for the show.
On this week's section of the show, known as Does That Monster Fuck? The monster fucks. There's this really sweet romantic moment between The Thing and I can't remember his love interest name, but they like embrace, and he's like basically like, how can you love a guy like me? Like, I'm too big and bulky and rough. And she's like, maybe I like it rough. And then they smash. There's a scene with them in bed together. So
I love it. So, like, whenever you describe a book like this to me, I'm like, I need to read it. Last year we saw it with Beta Ray Bill. 2022 is going to make me read The Thing. Is that what we need in order to make me read like these Marvel characters that I don't care about? Is just to make them boink?
Make
that all
them
we need?
boink. Yeah.
Make them boink.
So, like I said, there's this moment between the Thing and her, and he says to her, I guess it's okay then. Don't break nothing, or yeah, don't break nothing though. And then he's like, you don't want a guy like me for this. I mean, look at my skin. And she's like, I like it rough. And then you see them in bed together. So, I mean, like same girl, same. Okay, that's it on this episode of just this monster.
That episode of Does That Monster Fuck? Now, is that a miniseries? And how many? How many issues are we up to now?
3 of 5, I believe. It's written by Walter Mosley and artwork by Tom Riley.
Very fun.
Oh, Bueller, thank you. Thing's nickname is Rock Hard. That's his safe word, is Rock Hard.
That's a good one. Also, Scott, you know what? I think I might have to change the sign when I get into the new place. I might have to make them boink, you cowards. I like that. I might have to steal that from you. So I read 2 Marvel books. 2 Marvel books.
I've got 2
0
left as well.
DC books. Who am I? Also, Greg, you missed the segment of the show where I screamed and cried and yelled and cursed about our girl Yara Flor. You can catch that on the replay, but I'm sure you basically already have the gist of everything. Yeah. This is because we didn't do another episode of the Yara Flor fan club. We did this. It was us. So there were 2 books out this week. One that I really, really liked, and one that I was kind of like, about.
I don't know which one is going to be which. I think that this is going to be the one that you didn't like, and this is going to be the one that you did like.
Which is the one that I didn't like?
The one that you didn't like?
Yeah.
Or did I get it opposite?
Wrong.
Okay, so you didn't like this one.
I did not like Bloodstone. Okay. So, all right. First of all, this book's fucking insane right now. It is $15 on the market because y'all comic people are insane. Apparently, so this is the first appearance of Elsa Bloodstone's sister, Lyra. So that is why the book is absolutely blowing up right now. Sister. What did I say?
Well, no, you said sister, but I'm just like, it's not even Elsa Bloodstone's first appearance. It's a sister.
It's a sister. And it's blowing up right now. I absolutely love this cover, by the way. This cover is just fucking gorgeous. So I became obsessed last year with Elsa Bloodstone because she appeared in a Jessica Jones comics I was reading. This is my preach to you to please read Jessica Jones Blind Spot by Kelly Thompson. It's very, very good. Please read it. And better than all of Michael Bendis and Michael Gatiss so that they publish. It's just fun. It's fun stuff.
Wow. Okay.
Listen, I like when Jessica Jones is more like Jessica Jones in the show and not just boring detective stuff, which is what we do. It's fine, whatever. I didn't hate this, but I also didn't love this. I didn't really know what was going on. This issue really felt very unnecessary to me. I was worried I was going to be really confused because it's tied into, I guess, this weird Doctor Strange death event going on. Spoiler alert: Doctor Strange died, I guess.
Yeah, that was like 3 months ago. We got
yeah. And this ties into it, but not really, because it's literally like Elsa Bloodstone is, I didn't want to say fucking around, but she's just messing around with her brother, who apparently is also a monster. Spoiler, I didn't even know she had a brother. This is my first fucking experience with that. And then all of a sudden her sister shows up, and both of them realize they have a sister, and it's like, rather than processing the emotions of, oh shit, I have another sister, they kind of just like, okay, cool. Yeah. Then demons come out, then they all fight together. Like,
I guess they have to.
Listen, if I found out though that I had a magical sister that I didn't know about, I would kind of be a little like, who? What? Where? What?
Yeah.
There would be more emotions being processed with that, and I didn't get that with this. It felt very like, it just felt unnecessary to me. The entire book felt unnecessary.
I kind of get that. But I do think that because I think this, since it's tied into an event, it's just going to be like a one shot. Like, it's not like we're going to get more of this, but we're probably going to get, I think we're getting the character in their own series, right?
Who? Elsa Bloodstone?
Yeah, right?
I hope. I was literally about to say, hey, finally give her a series, you cowards, because I don't think she really has ever had a full... listen, I'm still a baby when it comes to learning about Elsa Bloodstone, okay? Listen, I'm the type of person where, you know, I see a girl on a panel and I literally pull a whole Jack Nicholson, stop the press, who is that? That was my reaction with Elsa Bloodstone when she shows up in Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
I would love to see her have a whole fucking series because she is just really fun, really badass. She curses constantly. She drinks constantly.
That's one thing that I loved about like this character is that she like it's immediately you're just introduced to that. It's just I don't think that we get to see that a lot with Marvel female characters.
It's just like you're a fucking bitch and so am I. And I'm like, what? You're great and I love you. I have been preaching that I would like to see her team up. Like, I would like a whole fun little like Monster Hunter type book with like her, Blade, Moon Knight. I just think it would be really, really fun to see that dynamic with all of them. I don't know. I wanted more. I was so excited when this was announced because I'm like, oh, yeah. Elsa Bloodstone, more content, more reason for me to fall in love with the character. And this was not it. This was not it. It was. I
agree.
Fun.
I think it suffers from being part of an event where it needs to be one story that's in two, right? Because it needs to be within the death of Doctor Strange for whatever reason. And it also needs to be its own thing. So I think that's why.
I needed more from it. If Elsa Bloodstone and her brother finding out that they had a sister was a whole arc, you know, and we kind of get time to develop with these characters. We get that sort of, you're just showing up on my doorstep claiming you're my sister, but I don't trust you sort of thing. And I know we've seen this trope done a million times before, but with a character like Elsa Bloodstone, who has such a strong personality, kind of like Yara Flor, where she's kind of witty and kind of sassy and funny. I think it would be fun to have these character interactions and then see their relationship develop where maybe they have to, you know, put aside their differences and save the day. Having all of that much needed character development happen in the span of 30 pages did not work.
I agree. So there was another book, I guess, that you really, really liked this one.
Oh my God. I picked this book up on a whim because I had a friend tell me to read it and I wasn't going to pick it up because I have not been reading Daredevil. I know that Elektra is now Daredevil and I'm like, I'm going to get really fucking confused. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. Let's try it out. This might have been my favorite book of the week. I don't know. I really loved Daredevil Woman Without Fear. Oh my, first of all, okay, I know we're on like a boinking session, but Matt Murdock and Elektra boink, and it made me really happy, and I got really excited. I'm like, yay!
Because of course, Matt Murdock is a fuckboy.
They boinked. I'm not wondering if the reason why I loved this series as much as I did is because I am hot off the press of a Daredevil binge, like literally within the past finishing Daredevil. So I'm still kind of in that like mindset, and it felt like this book gave me all of the little pieces that either I liked from Daredevil or I wanted to see either adjusted or expanded upon, and it was done right. So right off
because
the bat,
we get to see like a little bit of origin, a little bit of like character development.
You know, right off the bat, you throw Kingpin in there and it's Elektra versus Kingpin. I'm like, all right, I'm in. This is fun. Let's do this. Then we get the little Daredevil and Elektra, you know, like little I love you so much, but like I don't know if I should be loving you. And then they boink. And I'm like, all right, I'm sold. And then we like start to go into her backstory and I get to see familiar terms and places and things like the hand. We get to see her talk about Stick and her time with Stick. And I kind of had to be like, wait a second, was she actually trained by Stick in the comics? Or is that just something maybe we're using from the TV show because it's what we're familiar with? And I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Let's keep it rolling. And I did. I really enjoyed it. And then we get big beefy himbo Kraven the Hunter showing up at the end, and I'm like,
I'm a hunter.
I'm like, shit.
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
I don't know what Kraven the Hunter and Elektra have to do with one another. I could have sworn that man was a Spider-Man boy, but the Kraven the Hunter could show up on my doorstep any day of the week, and he could just Kraven the Hunter.
He literally, so like at the end, he's like, In a world bereft of them, my name is Craven, little assassin, and I hunt. I probably could have left out the little assassin, but my name is Craven, and I hunt. I just, dumb himbo
Boink.
energy all
Boink.
day. Done.
Like, I love that. So I'm like really excited. I don't know if I'm going to continue to pick this up month by month, but like this is definitely one where like, okay, once it's in the trade, yeah, I'll read the trade. I had a lot of fun.
It's only 3
I would
issues.
recommend it. Oh, it's only 3 issues?
Yeah.
Shit, I might have to pick up 3 issues.
You're already 1/3 of the way there.
Shit. I might have to pick up the 3 issues. Y'all got me. But now I'm like kind of curious, and now I kind of like want to go and read the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil. I know people have been like pleading with me to read it for a while. This might be what nudges me in the right direction, y'all. Like,
I really enjoyed it, and I'm not a Daredevil hater by any means. I just, outside of the TV show and a couple of like maybe runs here and there, I'm not too familiar with Daredevil, and so picking up the Daredevil run where Chip Zdarsky comes in this last like volume or 2, I've really been enjoying it. So I would suggest reading it because I've been having a lot of fun.
I think I'm gonna have to pick it up, and I really like the art in this book. Like everything about this book was just really. It was great. I had a good time with it, and I did not. I thought that this was for sure going to be like a chore read. Also, Bloodstone ended up being a chore read where it's like, all right, I have to read it because I'm already halfway through it, and I was gonna read, Daredevil. I keep wanting to call it Electro Woman Without Fear, but it's Daredevil Woman Without Fear.
Daredevil, yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let me try it because I did buy the issue where she gets the costume, the second printing, because I was like, oh, interesting, cool. Also, thanks, Scott. I appreciate you. So, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was neat. I had a good time. It has my seal of approval.
And so this, for those of you who don't know, so Daredevil has been written by Chip Zdarsky for like the last couple of years now. And then this, the Daredevil series, right before the Devil's Reign event, was supposed to be where Chip Zdarsky was leaving off, but apparently he's staying on for this Devil's Reign event and is coming back. I don't know if Daredevil's going to be renumbered, if they're going to start from number 1, or if they're just going to go ahead and keep going with like the numbers. I think it's in the 40s, maybe. So this is supposed to be also be part of that. And
I listen, I'm gonna make a confession, y'all. I'm kind of like low key excited about this like Devil's Reign event. Like, y'all have piqued my interest. Like, I was looking into it, and I am full on 100% simp right now for Wilson Fisk. And reading into this Devil's Reign, it's like Wilson Fisk taking over Hell's Kitchen once again, but now he's the mayor, and I'm like, this is interesting.
Now he's the mayor.
And then there's a Devil's Reign X-Men with Emma Frost and Wilson Fisk. And listen, I got an important question, y'all, and I need to know the answer, and maybe it will answer it for me because I have it pre-ordered. Did Emma Frost and Wilson Fisk smash? Because I might need that. That might be the power couple of the century, y'all.
Oh my goodness.
We're shipping them now. I am full-blown shipping them. Listen, place your bets now, because I will be reading Devil's Reign X-Men. Is Mars going to get very excited because she gets to see Wilson and Emma smash? Or is she going to have her heart broken because Emma is going to reject Wilson Fisk?
I don't think so, because Wilson Fisk, what's his wife's name? Or
Vanessa,
sorry.
How do you not remember? You're not watching Daredevil. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So I think that he loves her too much to smash Emma.
He had to have met her maybe before Emma. Like, maybe. I'm not saying they have to get married and fall in love. I just want to know, did they boink? Also, John, I love this hashtag.
That's the only speculation that we do here on the show is, do they smash?
They smashed. So we had 2 great Marvel books this week where they smashed. Actually, I'm going to be honest. My favorite Marvel books are books where the characters smash. Ultimate Daredevil, X-Force Sex and Violence. All of these have something in common, and that is they smash.
They smash.
If you have other recommended titles where the characters smashed, I can be contacted at That Comic Girl on Instagram and Twitter.
So, once again, my favorite book of the week, they smash. The Thing, issue 3, gets smashed. I
You
loved it.
You want to know, since we're on the topic,
Mm-hmm.
you want to know who needs to smash. Not who I want to smash, who I physically think needs to smash. Daredevil and She-Hulk. Listen, the motherfuckers are both lawyers. One is a prosecuting attorney, the other is a defense attorney. Think about the hate fuck that the two of those would have. It would just be amazing. I want them to smash.
They need
so bad.
They need to.
I have priorities, you guys.
I need,
it's
okay.
Fine.
I'm just,
I'm manifesting right now. I'm manifesting.
Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't even think about that. Both lawyers. That's the only like link that I need. And I'm just like, done. They clearly have a lot to talk about.
Like I was reading Charles Soule's run of She-Hulk last year, and Matt Murdock showed up, and I'm like, damn, there's some tension. I need this to happen. And then it never happened. And then I went on to Google, and I'm like, did they ever smash? And I was very disappointed. Please smash.
Do they smash?
Do they smash?
Well, friends, we've reached the smashing portion of the show.
Smashing conclusion.
Smashing. Do they smash? The monster smash.
Instead of monster mash, we should write the monster smash.
Monster smash. That's pretty much everything that I have, other than my descent into madness / 1,000 graphic novels / 2020 to be read pile.
How many have you read out of 1,000?
20 something, which is about one a day, maybe 1.5, but that's just trades. That's not including all the single issues that I've read so far. I've also read about 30 something single issues. So we'll see what it ends up being at the end of the year.
You're insane. Absolutely insane.
I know. I'm also, someone the other day, because I was wearing my, I've got a Klingon Botleth necklace, and they're like, oh, is that Worf's sword? And I'm like, yes, it is a traditional Klingon Botleth. And they're like, I would have never guessed that word. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm really into Star Trek. I'm really nerdy. And they're like, that's so cool. And I'm like, it is literally the opposite of cool, my dude. This is also part of the not being cool crowd, is we need to talk about monsters smashing. What comic book monsters smash?
Should I just make a whole video where it's like the top 20 people, the top 20 characters that have blinked?
Yes.
I feel like this needs to happen.
Well, thank you everyone for showing up. I know we kind of wait. I don't know.
Wait. Are you trying? I need clarification. Are you trying to insinuate that She-Hulk has smashed the Juggernaut? Because
Jarrell, I need you to text me right now and tell me if She-Hulk is
this real? I don't like this. I don't like this portion of the show.
I love this portion of the show.
This is Icarus. I have flown too close to the sun, and now I'm getting burned.
But it makes sense. I can see Juggernaut. I mean, Juggernaut is like the himbo. Okay, so did She-Hulk and the Juggernaut actually sleep together in Marvel Comics? Let's see.
Oh no, I'm getting confirmation that it happened.
Yeah, one-time hookup. So it was a one night stand. Uncanny X-Men number 435 by Chuck Austin and Ron Garney. Kane Marco was incarcerated and awaiting trial, being questioned by his defense attorney, Jennifer Walters. Later, She-Hulk asks the notorious villain why he prevented fellow prisoner Rhino from escaping. Yep. He intrigued She-Hulk, and the two slept together.
I'm sad.
Juggernaut and She-Hulk.
We've flown
I'm
too
not.
Close. We've flown too close.
I love
to
it.
The sun.
Juggernaut is a delicious himbo. Juggernaut could get it. I'm not even saying that ironically.
Too close to the sun. I think this is the point where we need to end the show, y'all, because I'm about to burst.
Yeah. First it began,
So
I got a text from Mars about 30 minutes before the show started, and she's like, I'm crying over Lore Olympus, and I can't even do the show. And now it's, I'm crying over She-Hulk and Juggernaut boinking. I can't do the show.
I can't do the show. Can't do it. I can't
Well,
do it.
I've got to do some investigating.
We'll have to
Slight rush, some dirty fan fiction.
We're gonna have to do a Boink special.
Boink special. We can make that our Valentine's Day Monster Smash episode, and we talk about all the beautiful monster smashes in comic books.
Yes, love it.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here, listening to us talk filthy and dirty about all our favorite monster boys and girls.
This is the comic content you crave. Like, let's be honest. Y'all not here for the spec market. Y'all not here for the reviews. No. You're here for the monster boinking and the comic boinking.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you so much. So thank you so much. I really hope all of you have a really great Sunday. I hope you read some good books. I hope you read some bad books. And we'll be here next Sunday. Bye, folks. Bye.